You don't need another strategy. Here's what you actually need to figure out why you can't implement the things that you already know. I'm Dr. Brooklyn Storme, former psychologist, now business coach, and I help women just like us to build profitable private practices, usually in under 12 months. Being neurodivergent means I see the patterns that other coaches miss, but it also means I'm a truth teller, so I'm not interested in giving you any business advice that sounds good or might be trending, but doesn't actually work for us. Welcome to the Practice Momentum podcast, where we're going to get your private practice sorted out. Thanks so much for being here, and let's get on with the next episode. Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode. Super pleased that you're here. So guess what? You know how I've got this new AI thing that's doing the podcast sort of mapping and all of that sort of jazz for me? Well, it did the thing, which was awesome, but I decided that I wasn't really loving the topic. So I've just hit run and it's running again and it's generating more stuff for me. And I thought, I don't have to sit there and wait. Like, I can just get started and then I can bring it all up after. So we're going to get started and I'll talk to you about whatever I'm going to be talking to you about. I'm very excited to see what it will be. But a couple of things. So yesterday was awesome. You could call it a marathon, but I spent maybe 3 hours with a client of mine in Practice Momentum, business coaching client, who is very interested in the AI stuff. And it was so much fun because I was able to teach her a whole bunch of things. And it felt like, although it went for 3 hours, and yes, we did have loo breaks and all of the things, but it really did feel like 5 minutes. And the only reason that I had to go was because I was heading off to look at another property. I'm buying a house at the moment. So yeah, I had to leave. Otherwise I would have stayed on. But I showed her how to do a few things. And yeah, at the end, I was saying to her, how are you feeling after all this? And she said, oh, I know what I'm doing for the rest of the day, for the rest of the week. And she said to me, it's just like, I thought I knew about AI. And she did the sign of your mind kind of exploding. She just went boom, so inspired. I can't wait to do more of this. So it was really, 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 really good. And it made me want to teach more. So I'm thinking maybe, I've got my free AI community for therapists. I'm thinking I did want it to be low effort for me, but I was so energized from this yesterday, and seeing her pick everything up so quickly meant that I was then able to show her a little bit more and a little bit more. And I really love doing that. So now I'm thinking, maybe I might go and teach, the odd workshop over in the free community. So that's on my mind at the moment. The other thing is, let me give you an update on, remember I told you about another piece of AI that I made for content planning, and the way that it works is it uses, my input, and it gets a framework, like a context. It gets very clear instructions for me about what I'm looking for, what I want it to do, all of those kinds of things. And then it pulled together a whole lot of data that I had no idea even existed. And then based on that data, it then was able to create a content plan that would help me generate qualified leads for some of my programs, right? So some of my things look like business coaching, and there's different types of business coaching. And then I've got free communities and free resources and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been so much fun. Anywho, I can't remember if I told you this or not, but I think I set it up. Actually, I probably haven't told you this because I did it on Saturday. Yeah, I set it up on Saturday. Oh, I did tell you because I remembered speaking about it on the podcast. Yeah. And anyway, after I set it all up, I was very surprised because the first post had, I think it's up to something like 19 little sort of engagement things, but that's very unusual for me because my audience lurk before they work, right? They want to kind of hang back, stay in the shadows, watch from a distance, and they take time. And eventually, when it's the right time for them, they'll reach out. But many of them never ever comment. So I never really know when somebody does reach out to ask about work. it's pretty unusual that I would know anything about them, but they will come on, will have been listening to the podcast or been following me on Facebook. So the fact that there was engagement right within a really short space of time, it was like a couple of hours, and it was unusually high engagement for my clients. I know it's not unusual for people to get 19 hearts, right? I'm sure there are people that put stuff up and they get like 500 in 30 minutes. But what I'm saying is the significance of it is that it shifted something in my audience for my business. Very interesting and very inspiring. And then anyway, the next day I was just having a day off. I was binge watching TV with Buddy, just like trying to have a brain break. And because you know me, like I'm in hyper focus for like 5 days, but then I crash for like 2 or 3. So I was in the crash, and I got up to check something on the computer to do with houses because, I'm looking for another property. And anyway, I woke up my computer from the screensaver and I saw that there were bucket loads of notifications on Facebook, and I thought, what's going on here? And anyway, I'm just there with my, my Udi Sherpa dressing gown, pink with great big red love hearts on it. It was all rugged up because it's so cold in Melbourne at the moment. Like, I'm not in Melbourne, I'm on the Mornington Peninsula, but if you don't know where that is, it's just easier if I say Melbourne. But anyway, it was so cold. And there were all these notifications on a post that I put in my community, the Ultimate Private Practice, and it was one of the scheduled posts. And anyway, let me just see if I can bring it up to share this with you because it's interesting. If you're a data person like I am, this is so interesting. So I'm just quickly bringing it up now for you so I can give you the correct information. It's up to 169 comments, which again, that's pretty big for my group, because although my group has over 8,000 people in it, the reach on posts is really, really low. Like, even with 169 comments, the reach is still only 1,700. Very, 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 very low. It's an algorithm thing. It's because I'm in a niche type thing, or all the things. But anyway, a lot of comments. And so I had to go in and respond to all of those comments, and it gobbled up probably 2 hours of my Sunday. And then on Monday I did a little bit more. I didn't do any yesterday, and then I think I finished them off today, though in saying that there's probably more. Like, if I just click on newest, more have come in. It's great, but it was like really unexpected. And so what this is telling me is this content planner is working, which is what I want, right? The other way that I know it's working is not only is there engagement, because, again, we've got the silent audience, right? And nearly all of your clients are going to be silent. It's pretty unlikely and pretty unusual, pretty uncommon that people who are commenting turn into clients. So there's that. And then the other thing was, because this particular post did so well, I thought to myself, I should also let people know in my email, because not everyone in my email is in my community and they might find it really helpful. So then I sent a little email about it. Anyway, I got leads galore coming in. It's working, and I could not be happier. And then anyway, I was sharing the process with my Practice Momentum client yesterday, and I gave her the steps, and I said to her, you're going to have to customize it for yourself, But I'm excited to see how she goes with that. Now I'm going to ask some of my other private practice clients if they want to have a go as well, because if it works for them too, then what I'll do is I'll make it available to everybody. But I want to test it first. So that has been so interesting. Now I'm checking stuff every single day. The other thing that's been super duper interesting is something that I was introduced to by a colleague of mine. His name's Edward. Edward and I, we do some co-working together when we can, most weeks for, a couple of hours. and we also coach each other for our businesses. And anyway, at one point, I think it was like, I don't know, October, November last year, we were talking about how we manage our time and things like this. And one of the things that, he recommended to me was Kanban boards. And I hadn't heard of those before. And he said, well, it might work for you. And if you're neurodivergent, you will absolutely understand what I'm about to say. But it was like, because somebody told me, I just didn't want to do it. It's kind of similar to demand avoidance. Demand avoidance being, you've got to go and take the bin out, and it's on your mind and you're aware of it and you have every intention of doing it. But then you bump into somebody and they say to you, oh, don't forget to take the bin out. And now you really don't want to do it. That's demand avoidance. So yeah, because it was suggested to me, I didn't want to do it. So I just kind of refused to even look at it. Not because I was being like juvenile. It's just like how my brain works. My brain was just like, no, that's disqualified from my options now. But what ended up happening was, it was the end of the quarter, almost 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, it was the end of the quarter. And I spend the first week of the next quarter reflecting and looking at what worked, what didn't, what actions was I taking, who was I connected with, what was I doing, who was I being, like how was I getting results, what was I doing, how was I showing up, what was my mindset like, what were the results, what didn't work, what are the lessons here, how can I grow from this, the usual stuff that we all do. I know some of you are going, I don't do it, but ideally we do. Anyway, and I realized, oh yeah, I need to do something about my marketing, because I happen to love marketing, but I had gone down a little bit of a rabbit hole with another offer. So I've been trying to simplify all my business services. I stripped a lot of them away. I merged services. I deleted services, all that kind of stuff. That all happened. But at the same time, I was like, oh, I think I'll create something new. It's law of vacuum. I was talking to somebody else about that the other day too. Law of vacuum is when you're manifesting, you have universal laws. And one of the universal laws is, as soon as you create space for something, it ends up getting filled pretty quickly. For me, a really great example is cleaning out the linen cupboard, or cleaning out the Tupperware cupboard, or cleaning out my third drawer. I know, like, pretty soon after I've done that, I'm going to be filling it up with stuff again. But anywho, there was that. And I was thinking, I need a better way of tracking stuff. And I've got my KPI tracker, and I've got my income and expenses trackers, like all that kind of stuff. But I wanted a new way of tracking, because I know that, well, for me, I know that whatever I see tends to do really, really well. Because I really do believe that whatever I'm giving my focus to, my attention to, grows and develops. And so I was thinking, what would I like to grow and develop, and what would I like that to look like, and how's it going to fit with my goals and my values and those kinds of things. And anyway, I thought to myself, oh, I want to make like a chart, because I've got a wall planner. You've heard me talk about it before. And remember I said to you about, it was a couple of episodes ago, I was talking to you about what happened with the first house that I was looking at. And I said, oh, I don't know when I'm going to get another one. I don't know. And then I said to you that I was looking at my wall calendar, and my eyes just kept sort of going to May. My eyes are still going to May. So I really believe that May is going to be significant for the house. And May is going to be significant for the house, and I still feel that. And even as I look at it now, I'm feeling like it's the second row on the calendar. So I don't know if that is week 2 or week 1, because you know how the top row carries over some dates from the previous month. So I don't know, but it's the second row on my calendar. First or second week of May, I'm feeling is going to be the thing. But anyway, and I was looking at that and I thought, that's exactly what happened when I was thinking about the house at the start of the year. I got the feeling, oh, it's going to be April. And, everything kind of happened in March, right? And then in April, end of March, it all kind of collapsed, fell in a heap. But March was the big month. So I'm confident that there's a thing about what I see, what's in my line of sight, I manifest. So based on that, I thought, let's put faith to the test here. And I have an easel of poster size post-it notes. Yes, you heard me correct. Post-it size post-it notes. It was an easel that I got for when I used to do training and, run workshops in person pre-COVID. And I think it's by 3M, and it just kind of folds up into an easel, and then you can write on it with your markers and everything and then rip pages off. But they can then be stuck onto a wall. So I had those, and I haven't used them for years, but I saw them and I thought, oh, I'll use that. And so I got it out. I ripped a page off. I ruled some columns down it, stuck it on the wall beside the computer, and across all my columns. So the way that a Kanban board works is you have what I just described. It's usually a whiteboard, or you can get special, they're actually called Kanban boards, but anyway, you don't need that. You can do it on a computer. I think Canva even has a Kanban board template you can use. I've just used a sheet of paper. Anyway, put it into columns, and then what you do is you have coloured cards, or in my case, regular size sticky notes. Well, I'm actually using small ones, but just sticky notes. And you move the sticky note across the board, and you can see at a glance where each person is in their journey. And it also helps you move them across, but build momentum, make progress, and your brain starts, because it's your subconscious seeing it, right? So your brain starts going, oh, okay, we need to fill this board up. This is what I believe. This is how I believe it's working for me. I think my brain is like, oh, there's a lot of white space here. We want to fill this up. And also it's great because I can see at a glance, oh yeah, I got to follow this up, do that, do this, do that. And you ideally would have the tasks that you need for a project. But in my case, I'm using it for inquiries, right? And calls and clients and things like that. So my columns say inquiry, whether a call was booked or not, whether they were folded up or not, what the next step was with that person, what the right next step for them would be based on their goals and, their needs and stuff like that. The next step after that will be if they were going to work with me one-to-one, for example, it's contracts out and in. If it's going to one of my communities, it's, did they get the link? Were they able to join? That kind of stuff. And then just space for notes. And then for your little post-its, the things that you're moving along your board, you want to have different colors. So I use, green for one service, pink for another, purple for another. And then I can glance at that board and I can see straight away, oh, I've got a lot of green, or, oh, I've got a lot of pink, or, oh, I've got a lot of blue, or whatever it is. And that visually tells me what's working. And I can also see, oh, we've only got one yellow. And that's telling me important information too, right? It's also showing me, not that it's happened yet, but I know that it will, where people are dropping off, where they're dropping out. And that's helpful because I can then use that information to plug gaps in my system so that people don't drop out or miss getting followed up and things like that. So anyway, I am loving it. And I started it, I want to say Tuesday. So it wasn't yesterday. It must have been Tuesday last week. Yes, it was Tuesday last week. After we were back from the Easter holidays, I started this. I think I might have even mentioned it. And anyway, I think it had like one or two little sticky notes on it. But now it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 right? And of those 13, they're all at different points in the board, but most of them are on inquiry at the moment, right? So that's a whole lot. 9 are on inquiry that haven't been moved forward yet, that are in the process of moving forward. So yeah, if you're looking for inquiries, if you're looking for clients, maybe make yourself a Kanban board. If you're somebody who does well with visual things, if you're not into manifesting and if you haven't tried something like this, you heard how easy it is. If you haven't tried something like this, maybe give it a go. You don't have to do it the exact way that I did. You can go onto YouTube and you can have a look at Kanban boards and how people do them, but it's spelt K for kitten, A for apple, N for Nelly, B for Brooklyn, A for apple, N for Nelly, Kanban board. Anyway, it's my new obsession and it works really well with my current time management process, which is moves. Yeah, and basically moves just stands for doing money activities, doing outreach activities, doing visibility activities, doing activities that execute on service delivery for clients and students and supervisees and all those kinds of things. And of course, executing means implementing information, skills, knowledge that I'm learning from courses that I'm doing. If you can hear noise in the background, it's Buddy. He's just come back from a WALK and he's having a drink of water loudly. It's so cute. And yeah, S stands for space for unexpected things. So in case I just said that, I can't remember if I did or I didn't. But anyway, so for each of those 5 letters, I have time in my calendar set up as like little appointments. I just use the appointment thing and they're all a different color. And then I can just slide them around whenever I want. So for me, with being neurodivergent, this allows me to have some structure in the day and flexibility. And this means that I can do the things when the energy is there. And it means that I'm always doing things that shift the needle in my business. So anyway, yeah, Kanban board works really, really well with that. And then, yeah, went and saw a few more homes and put in an offer this morning on one. And yeah, very excited. Hopefully it's all going to work out. Very, very excited. And then also next week I'm away and I cannot wait to go away. Okay, so let's go and see how my little AI thing went. Okay, it's done really well. I'm happy with this topic. I am. You're going to like this. All right, I already know about this topic too, which is great. So let's just dive in. As I said, this topic and everything that you're about to hear came from something that I created that helps me do all of this sort of stuff. It's so cool. But anyway, this particular topic is about Gemini. Now, this is very, very important. So if you haven't heard of Gemini, Gemini is AI. So just like how we've got Claude and ChatGPT, Gemini is embedded into the Google sphere, okay? And it's a fantastic place for you to be doing things with AI because, as I've mentioned before, ChatGPT and Claude just don't provide HIPAA compliance. They're very clear that they do not. If you wanted to have a level of security on your accounts with them, for both of them, you need to apply for something that's called enterprise level. So you know how you've got your free tier and you've got your paid tier and things like that. And there's the different levels of payments. Well, enterprise is a custom one and they work out a price, but it's very, very, very expensive and they don't do it usually for solo practices. It's usually reserved for, I guess, hospitals, for pathology collection organisations, like organisations type thing, not really so much for us. And so while we don't want to be using identifying information when we're working with AI, if you want to do some things and maybe the AI is going to be exposed to identifying information, then we do want to make sure that we've put all the guardrails in place. And a fantastic way of doing that is with Google Workspace, because Google Workspace does give you the HIPAA compliance. Now, that doesn't mean too much for us in Australia because it's not Australian, right? It's American. But it's not like we've got an APRA compliance, tool the same as the HIPAA one. So I think it's, as good as, it's like the best that you can do. So I would definitely be recommending, if you are interested in, doing higher level things with your AI, then do it within Gemini, do it within the Google Workspace, because you're protected. You have HIPAA compliance, and it's just safer. So it means that should anything happen, at least you're protected, right? You can say, well, I've got the data controls in place. I've done the best that I can do. It's very different to something being in Claude or ChatGPT servers, being exposed to who knows who and things like that. So yeah, Gemini is the place to go. Now, some of the things that you might want to do with the AI that are relevant to what I'm going to speak with you about today is things like what I mentioned before. You might want to run a morning briefing or an evening briefing or a weekly briefing and things like that. And that could look like saying to the AI, hey, go and have a look at my day. I want you to check my emails, draft some replies, unsubscribe from things, delete things, put things in folders, give me a summary of what clients I'm seeing today, what meetings I've got coming up, what's my day looking like. Do you know what I mean? So you can do all of that. But the thing is that when we want to do those kinds of things in our industry, because we've got nuances around, privacy and confidentiality and things like that just aren't as strict or as present in other industries, like maybe retail, right, or hospitality and things like that, we have to be very careful. So we can't do a lot of the things that a lot of other people are doing, right? We have to figure out, how do I still be able to do this without compromising data integrity and, breaching privacy and security and stuff like that. And so if you want to do those things, you would use Gemini in Google on the paid account, right? Not on free. You don't have any protection on free. So let me talk you through what this is going to look like. So AI can absolutely do all those things. It can check your diary for you, check your email and everything. But while it is really, 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 really cool and awesome, there are, of course, things that we need to be careful about. So Google released something recently, and they've called it Gemini Personal Intelligence, right? And it's just a feature that connects with your AI assistant. So if you're already using Google, which most of us are, right, a Google Doc, a Google Sheet, you've already got access there to the AI assistant, right? This is just kind of expanding it a little bit, but yeah, it connects to that, which connects to things like your Gmail, your calendar, your photos, your YouTube watch history, your search history, if you're using Google as your browser and things like that. And it does all of that to make sure that any of the answers to any of the questions that you're giving it are based on your interests and your data and your preferences, right? So I'm going to talk with you now about what the Gemini Personal Intelligence does and what it looks like and what you need to be aware of, before you decide to enable it or not for your business. Okay. So if you're using Google for work stuff, don't turn it on just yet. If you're using it for your personal, go for it. It probably doesn't really matter so much. All right. So it's basically just a tool that is adding into the already existing AI assistant, and it just connects that to your personal Google data. Okay. So, yeah, the basics of it are that, I don't know, personal intelligence, it's a bit of a marketing phrase, right? But what it really means is that you can use the Gemini app, or you can use your Google search, or you can use Google Workspace, as I said a moment ago. And, up until just very recently, when you asked a question, it gave an answer from its training data, right? So, when we're talking about Claude and chat, and I always tell you, like, toggle it off, go into your settings and make sure the setting is toggled off to the training data. We don't want any of your information being out there used by goodness knows who to train their systems, right? So this is saying that up until very, very recently, Google, anytime you are asking it questions, it was pulling from the information that everybody who hadn't toggled that off on their settings, right, was sharing. But now, instead of it pulling from like a great big database of essentially general knowledge and giving you essentially a very general answer, the personal intelligence is changing that. So when you enable that feature, it allows Gemini then to access all of your Google accounts. So when you do things like, maybe you say, I don't know, what fee did I offer this potential student, last month, in that email, the Gemini personal intelligence tool will go into the email. It's going to search your email. It will pull up the email. It will find the answer for you. It will give it to that. So it's going to look through everything. If you say, I was looking for a citation that I could use about the evidence of EMDR for grief, loss and trauma in, children over the age of 14, but under the age of 18, I think I was looking at it in January, then the personal intelligence will now go and search back through your whole entire search history, find that citation for you, bring it up and say, oh, here you go, right? So you can see how this could be so helpful. But it's going to have implications, obviously, for private practice, because, yes, it's very much like a personal assistant now, just like how you would, I guess, work with a VA or, I don't know, your virtual admin, your virtual assistant, your bookkeeper, like whoever's got access to your data, you get all of them to sign non-disclosures, right? You get them all to sign the privacy and confidentiality and all that kind of stuff. So kind of like that, we want to set up the permissions. We want to set up the permissions for you to be able to do that with Google as well. Okay. So this is brand new. It's currently being rolled out to users who are on paid plans like Pro or Ultra. If you're using a free Google Gemini account, you probably don't have access to it yet. But as I said to you before about some of the features that ChatGPT has been rolling out lately, the last one that we spoke about was the file library. I think that they will all become available to people on the free plans eventually, because even with something like this one here, it's going to make sense to Google to make it accessible to you, because it will keep you on their platform and they will make money from you, right? By things like the amount of time you spend on different websites. So that's how they get paid, yada, yada, yada. We don't need to go into that. You know it. But so it should be coming to Australia very, very soon. It has already been rolled out in the US. So just keep an eye on your Google Gemini stuff if you're in Australia. But when it comes to enable it, you do need to go into your settings in your app. So, you've got the desktop version, you've also got the version on your device, and go into the settings in the settings, look for personal context, or it may be called personal intelligence as well. And then from there, you can just choose, what you're going to give it permission to access and not. So in terms of what it means for private practice, there's kind of really good news in here. So maybe think about for yourself, do you spend time looking for things either online, in your inbox, trying to remember a conversation you had with somebody? Like, I don't know, if you do custom things for people. So with Etsy, for example, I used to do custom things. I don't anymore. They're a nightmare. But I used to offer that. And it was like websites. So I would be selling these website templates, and I would offer the option to have it customized, where it was kind of like I would jump into the template and update it with the person's branding, their fonts, their colors, stuff like that. And then I would send them the pre-branded template. But sometimes the scope of work went beyond that. And that meant that I then needed to do quotes. And anyway, different people needed different things and they got different quotes. This is what I'm saying. Like, it got messy quickly. That's why I don't do it anymore. But anyway, like, let's say that you're doing something custom like that, and you can't remember like what you've been quoting or who you quoted, what amount, and things like that, right? So it'll solve that for you, because it will just go and find you that information really, really quickly. Maybe you were online and you read something about Medicare rebates or mental health hubs or something, but you're not sure, did I read this online or did I read this in an email? You can use the personal intelligence feature in Gemini and just say, I don't remember, was this something that I researched online, or did I read it in an email? Like, was it a newsletter that came from the APS or AAPI or something like that? And the personal intelligence will go find it for you and bring it back, right? So I guess if you're someone who, context switches a lot, has a gazillion tabs open all the time, has a lot on your mind, and you get disorganized or scattered and you spend a lot of time trying to look for things, this could be super duper helpful for you, right? It's going to save you a lot of time. Then I guess the other thing too is, just be mindful that it's going to have access to anything that falls within the Google, I say the Google sphere, but you know what I'm talking about. So anything you're doing on Google. So maybe you're using Google Keep, as well as Gmail, as well as Sheets, as well as using the search engine, all of those kinds of things. I think it's going to be really, really handy for you. But there are also some things that you might want to know before you get started. And this is where let's just be honest. I don't know about you, but with me, I do have a Google Work account, right? My email account's just support@brooklynstorm.com. But it's not like 100% work. I do get emails from, unwork related things. I get emails about dogs because I love dogs and I like to subscribe to the Lord Smith. That's where it's an animal shelter in Melbourne, and that's where I got my previous dog from. And so now I sponsor dogs from there. And so I just get that coming over to my work email, so I see it. But I have I think I've got a realestate.com email subscription coming through into it now as well. So it's not all business is what I'm saying. I've got personal stuff in there as well. So I think the trick is going to be remembering that most of us don't have perfectly separated email accounts, right? Many of us are using Gmail for everything. We're getting inquiries off the website coming into it. We're getting referrals from people into it. We're getting correspondence from supervisees into it, all this kind of stuff. Things our clients want us to look at, all of that. So it can be a little bit of a mixed bag. And then, of course, you've got, as I said, personal things. So, the thing is, if you have a single Gmail account and everything's going into it, you've probably got a lot of emails in there that have something to do with identifying data, whether it's client details or referrals and stuff like that. Okay. The other thing is you want to know, what does Google actually do with the data that's getting processed through the personal intelligence feature of Gemini. So it's interesting because Google is saying that any personal data that's accessed through the feature isn't used to train the AI models by default for personal accounts, but the data is processed on their servers in order to generate responses. So it's not that it's the data is like sitting somewhere and it's all contained in a nice safe space, right? It's also not the same as saying that it's unsafe. It's just saying that you need to understand that while it's not going to use your information on your personal account to go training, it is staying on a server somewhere for your benefit so that it can quickly pull up answers for you. So you have to think about how comfortable you are with that. I mean, if you ask me, I'm not an IT expert, but I kind of figure all my information's already on some server somewhere with Google. I'm sure it is with a million places, let's be honest. I was saying to somebody the other day, like, I really don't believe in privacy anymore. I believe in the need for it. I believe we want to strive to have it. I'm all for it. It's not about that. Don't misunderstand. What I'm meaning is, I think for me, it's easier for me to accept that I probably all my information's out there. My information was breached with Medicare last year. My information was breached with Optus the year before. Do you remember that when Optus, so if you're not from Australia, Optus is a telecommunications company, and the data got breached and hacked and all of this, and held to ransom. Like, the hackers were holding Optus to ransom. They wanted money to not release the data, all of this. So I'm pretty sure, and the amount of, I don't know, I get random calls every single day. No one's got my mobile number apart from my clients, and that's not even all of my clients. Only some of my clients have my actual private number. So my number was updated, I think 18 months ago. So even then, if I'd worked with somebody prior, they wouldn't have my current number. So what I'm saying is, like, it's minimal, the number of people who've got my phone number, yet I can go into, the phone part on my iPhone, and I can see all these red, phone numbers of people that have tried calling me that didn't get through. I've got no idea who they are. No one's got the number. So obviously I'm on a list somewhere. I have to think that when it comes to Google, yes, of course, we need to be mindful. We've got to follow privacy principles. We've got to follow ethical guidelines. Yes, yes, yes. But I think for me personally, outside of that, me just as a citizen, I really believe, like, there's no privacy for me. I think my stuff's everywhere. And I'm not going to get my knickers in a knot because Google's got my stuff on a server. I think it's more of a concern if Google's got your client's stuff on a server and your clients didn't consent. That's the issue. You know what I'm saying? Anywho, so I think maybe just, if you want to use these features with AI and you really love Google, like I do, like I use Google for lots of things, but I've got like highest level security and all of that kind of stuff. I think if you're going to use it, maybe separate your stuff. Maybe have 2 different Google accounts, right, with 2 different logins, because I think even on paid tier, you can add as many emails as you want. So even if you went and changed the email address, you created a new email address, it's still the same account, right, run by the same admin. So it's still the same account. I would say go and start a whole new account in Google, and just keep the 2 perfectly separate and use all your AI stuff on the personal one, perhaps. Anyway, it's very, very interesting. There's lots kind of happening at the moment in the AI space in terms of privacy and confidentiality, though, as I said at the start, if you did want to do stuff that was, I don't know, going to pull from your calendar or pull from your email, you can do it safely in terms of patient health identifiers and stuff like that under Google, as long as you're covered by Google. So you have to make sure that you're covered because it's not automatic. So you do have to make sure that you're set up properly. But then I think the other thing too is to update for your clients and things like that. Go and update your consent form or your terms. I think a really, really simple way of doing that is, go and put it on all your forms. But I think also just update your email footer, just find simple ways to do it. And because the more places you've got that you use AI, or you may use AI or something like that, it just gives you more protection. In my opinion, I'm not a lawyer, but I think if a client sees when they go to book an appointment that, AI is going to be used to, I don't know, transcribe the meeting. Like that's what I put on my appointments. I say AI may be used to transcribe the meeting. And even then, a lot of the time I don't do it. Sometimes I use it, sometimes I don't, but it's there to cover the client so they're aware that it could be used with AI to cover me. I think transparency is key. And I think most of the time, it's going to be like with anything, isn't it? There are people that are going to say yay, there are people going to say nay, but I think a lot of the time people don't care. I think they understand that AI is here, it's getting used. I mean, my lawyer that's been helping me with some stuff. I was going to say, do you need to know? I think I've already mentioned it before. Oh, someone owes me money. That's all it is. Anyway, someone in my family. It's not a work thing. It's a family thing. I lent someone a lot of money. They haven't paid it back. Blah, blah, blah. Anywho, she was using AI. She used AI to record and transcribe our session together. Then she used it to help pull together and analyze information for the thing that we were working on, stuff like that. So, but she just said, do you mind if I use AI for this? Now, I didn't give a hoot. And actually, if it's going to help her do better for me, go for it, is what I say. I don't think I've said no to any AI that I'm aware of. But at the same time, there's probably people that, sometimes when I've gone on to a call with a client, I've not been recording, but I've noticed that a client is. Yeah. And so I've had to say to them, I'm okay with this being recorded, but, next time, maybe heads up first. And we can use that as sort of a teaching point. So I think you wouldn't want your clients recording anything without your knowledge. So we don't want to do it to them without theirs. And I think if you've got a touch point in your email signature, in your onboarding or your consent form, or both, for new clients, I think if you've got it in your diary for when people book appointments, what else? I think if you have it as an email footer, I think I already said that, but in my mind, I'm seeing my regular Gmail, but then I was seeing my flow desk. So I'm thinking of two different things, but I think just put it everywhere and just cover yourself. I think the more transparent you can be about it, the better it is for you, because you get to operate in integrity. And I think it builds trust with clients when they know if what you're doing may involve or not AI. And they can always ask you questions and stuff like that. For most of us, we're just going to be transcribing, right? But anywho, I thought that was just something that might be super duper interesting to share with you, because although I used my AI to come up with this topic this morning, it was something that I do already know about. And the reason I know is just because I've been doing a lot of research on AI and making sure for us that I can, give you the shortcuts and help you find the solutions for using AI. Because here's the other thing, right? What was I going to say? When we're using AI, I've just forgotten it. It doesn't matter. It couldn't have been that important. Anywho, maybe I'll save it for next time. But that's pretty much it for today. If you want to learn more, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, there are a lot of people who are running private practices who feel like having the back and forth conversations with Claude and ChatGPT is using AI, and that they're really, really proficient and competent with it, which is understandable because you don't know what you don't know. But I am here to say, if that's you and if you enjoy using it, or if you want to look at what other people are doing, come and join a free community of mine. I teach it, and as I said, you don't have to pay for it, and you can learn all kinds of things. I teach things like how to create resources using AI for your clients, things that you can sell for your passive income, things you can give or share or sell to maybe supervisees or clients, things that will save you time, reduce your time. Did you hear how quick it was for me to get all those steps done for using the AI to come up with the topic and the outline for today's podcast episode? I did that on the fly while I was talking to you. It already gave me everything, but I decided I wasn't really into the topic and I wanted a fresh one, and I just got it to run in the background while I was talking to you. Now, that tool that I've created for myself saves me hours. And I'll go and use it now, and it will probably take me about 15 minutes to get everything done. It's that quick. So anyway, I love to teach this. So if you want to learn, you're most welcome to come through. The post that has had a lot of engagement in Facebook was a post where I was helping people with their websites, because marketing is really, really a tricky space for so many practitioners to navigate. So I wanted to do something that was helpful there. So if you want me to have a quick look at your website, you can go and drop the website address, like your URL. You can go and put it there, and I will give you a tip for your website on one thing that you can do that will have the biggest impact on your inquiries for the next 90 days. If that would be helpful, it's the free community that I've got called the Ultimate Private Practice, and it's on Facebook, so you can go there. And I'm more than happy to have a quick look at your website and give you one thing as well, so you don't miss out. Okay. All right. Well, I hope that this was super duper helpful. Thank you so much for being part of my world. And I'll talk to you next time. Bye. And that's a wrap for this episode of the Private Practice Podcast. So as you reflect on today's insights, imagine creating real success in your private practice without going down rabbit holes or exhausting yourself with business activities that don't move the needle. With Practice Momentum, you have push of a button help available on demand. It's like having an expert in your pocket ready to guide you whenever you need it. Visit brooklynstorme.com to discover how Practice Momentum can transform your approach to building a thriving practice. I'm Dr. Brooklyn Storme, and I'll see you next time as we continue exploring the mind, business, and spirit of private practice success.